Former Vice President of the DRC, Jean-Pierre Bemba, returns to the Central African nation to register as a presidential candidate. How Sister Cities International is enabling multiple exchanges between people, communities, and cities around the world. And Facebook confirms a new campaign aimed at influencing the U.S. midterm election and wipes 32 accounts from the platform. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githui. You are in for Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. The political winds of change are blowing in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Former Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba has returned to the Central African nation to register as a presidential candidate in December's long-delayed but much-anticipated election, a decade after his arrest in Belgium led to a trial at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. As Bemba arrived on Wednesday in Kinshasa by a private jet, members of his opposition Movement for the Liberation of Congo party warmly greeted him on the airport tarmac. Police presence in the area was high. Appeals judges with the ICC in June overturned Bemba's convictions for murder, rape and pillaging committed by his forces in neighboring Central African Republic in 2002 and 2003. He had been sentenced in 2016 to 18 years in prison but maintained his innocence. Bemba is still awaiting a final sentencing at the ICC in another case in which he was convicted of interfering with witnesses. For more on Jean-Pierre Bemba's return to Congo, VOA's Roger Muntu joins us by phone from Kinshasa. Good evening, Roger. Can you fill us in on the latest?
Yes, Esther. Supporters of the former rebel leader and vice president have gathered since very early this morning in the street of the capital, Kinshasa. Several people were waiting for him this morning at the Njili airport. Police, as you say, Esther, used tear gas to try to disperse the crowd that came to welcome Jean-Pierre Bemba from Njili Airport, where he landed. According, Esther, to some Congolese political experts, his arrival triggers a new and intense phase of political maneuvering and instability in the country.
Now, Roger, we mentioned the tear gas. From your vantage point, what did you witness?
Well, according to the people that we found there, because where we arrived, that's when the tear gas thing was happening. When we arrived there, we found the police, and we asked the people who were around. That they told us that the police had asked the vehicles in the area to accelerate the speed, to move quickly, to move the speed of the procession. But the population refused. People wanted to welcome Jean-Pierre Bemba. People wanted to touch him. People wanted to talk with him. But it's only at that moment when they refused that police officer lended to lynch tear gas.
Now, Roger, did he address the media?
Now, he did not, Esther, he did not get a chance to address the media again because of the crowd, because of everything that was happening there. He did not address it. At least from where we were, we did not see him at least talking to the media. But we asked his close staff, and they told us that they actually planning on having a press conference very soon. And as I said also, as you said earlier, Bemba has a strong support base in the DRC, and experts believe, Esther, that his return could shake Congolese politics.
Now, Roger, when you talk to analysts there and even Bemba's people, is he talking about his next move in terms of organizing his political base before the December election?
Now, what we know, first of all, Esther, is that the former warlord is expected to run in the presidential election, and his return will mobilize, of course, the opposition to President Joseph Kabila, who has been in power since the assassination of his father in 2001. So according to those experts, when we talk to them, according to them, Bemba is trying to work with the other member of opposition, Moise Katumbi and all the other group of the opposition, to work with them so they can, fight, go against the government, block and become one, so they can be stronger, much stronger. According to those political experts, that's what they think that's going to happen.
Now, Roger, since Bemba's arrival, have you heard anything from President Kabila's camp about Bemba's return?
We have not heard anything specifically, but the Congolese government has publicly said that Mbemba is welcome to return to the DRC. It's his country. He's welcome to come, and we also saw that there was a presence of the police, and the police were there not to, to really create any issues, but to protect Mbemba as well, to make sure that everybody was and arrived here safe. So that, from what we know, is that the government has welcomed and said he can come back to his country and legally. And so far, that's what we've heard. Mm-hmm. We are still waiting for other press conference that maybe the government or the spokesperson of the government will speak up.
Roger, thank you so much. VOA's Roger Muntu reporting from Kinshasa. Now to Zimbabwe, where ballots are still being counted in the presidential election, with results expected to be announced later this week. The ruling ZANU-PF party has won a majority in parliament based on partial results released Wednesday. The figures from the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission show ZANU-PF with 109 seats in the 210-seat parliament. The main opposition, the Movement for Democratic Change party, has 41 seats. Meanwhile, President Emmerson Mnangagwa is calling for calm on the streets of Harare Wednesday after chaos erupted when the main opposition leader, Nelson Chamisa, accused the ruling party of trying to rig the country's election. Police arrived to disperse opposition protesters who blocked streets and engaged them in running battles. Soldiers arrived at the scene in several armored personnel carriers. Gunfire was heard and one person was shot and killed, according to Reuters. European Union observers say the poll was held on an unlevel playing field, citing voter intimidation, mistrust in the Electoral Commission, and media bias. The assessment by the EU, which also questioned delays in the releasing the presidential results, is considered important in determining whether Zimbabwe can improve its global reputation, which could help spark an economic resurgence. In West Africa, controversy was sparked as Malian residents await the official results of Sunday's presidential election. On Tuesday, 3 candidates claimed to have made it into a 2-candidate runoff vote, adding to the turmoil after a poll beset by claims of irregularities and armed attacks that prevented thousands of people from voting. The Democratic Alliance for Peace presidential candidate Aliou Diallo's campaign director, Chuck Diallo, says his candidate had won enough votes in Sunday's election to qualify for a second-round poll next month, joining incumbent President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and Soumaïla Cissé, leader of the opposition Union for the Republic and Democracy Party. Candidates are forbidden by law to announce results before they are officially published, and so far the Ministry of Territorial Administration has not released any official tabulations. China has loaned Uganda hundreds of millions of dollars in recent years to build new roads. However, some Ugandans question the benefit of this project. Most of the construction is performed by Chinese companies, and it is the Ugandan taxpayer who ultimately bears the burden of paying off the loans. Halima Thumani reports from Kampala.
Uganda's lack of large construction companies has left road construction to multinational companies, especially from China. One of the largest projects by the Chinese Communications Construction Company is the 51-kilometer expressway from Entebbe Airport to Kampala. But at a cost of $450 million, almost triple Uganda's entire road construction budget, some question why the work was not given to a local company.
Most of these corporations owned by Chinese in Uganda are partially owned by the government of China. But which company in Uganda is being owned by government of Uganda and Ugandans? It's not there. So we're saying we need to allow room to grow these local companies by giving them the opportunity.
Ugandan contractors in 2017 lobbied to get 30% of high-value construction reserved for local firms. But earlier this year, the Public Procurement Authority and Ministry of Finance repealed the regulation. Authorities argue local contractors struggle too much with finances, equipment, and adequate experience for big projects.
And the Chinese companies have come out to offer relatively cheaper options, and yet they do good work as well. So it's not that the country is giving work specifically to Chinese, but it has to do with their rates as well.
To finance the Entebbe Express Highway, China Exim Bank extended 20% of the funding as a loan to Uganda. Owing money to China could become a problem, says the Uganda Debt Network's Kapwepwe Julius Mshambi.
The Chinese, for heaven's sake, are not here for charity across Africa, and therefore that must be at the heart of every African. And also that our own development as Africans, it is mainly us as Africans that can be able to take lead and take charge rather than simply run someone else's money.
Local contractors argue the government needs to finally pass and implement a 2005 bill designed to support the Uganda construction industry. The bill, among other things, calls for government to help improve the capabilities of Ugandan contractors by requiring multinationals to transfer knowledge to local companies. Halima Athmani for VOA News, Kampala.
Over the years, Sister Cities International has enabled multiple exchanges around the world. Africa 54's Lino Mudu joins us with more of the details. Lino?
That's right, Esther. Creating a hub of peace and prosperity was part of the vision when Sister Cities International was established in 1956 by U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower. 62 years later, the initiative remains as dynamic as ever, connecting people, communities, and cities. The unique Sister Cities partnership is enabling technology transfer in schools between Atlanta, Georgia, and Montego Bay, Jamaica. Montgomery County, Maryland, is engaging mayors in Ethiopia around trade and investment opportunities. And a sewing club in Seattle, Washington, is producing reusable feminine hygiene napkins, benefiting some young women and girls in Lembe, Cameroon. Roger Mark de Souza is president and CEO of Sister Cities International.
Sister Cities International is the oldest and largest citizen diplomat network in the United States. And this means that these are Americans throughout the country, roughly about 100,000 every year, who are partnering with cities outside the United States and bringing them back to our cities here to understand where there are mutual interests and opportunities to collaborate and partner. And these are things around youth engagement, sports, cultural exchanges, but they very often lead to a number of important opportunities around economic development, trade, investment, tourism, and most of all, opportunities to have fun.
Citizen diplomacy.
Yes.
What is it? How do you define it?
Citizen diplomacy is something that we all also consider like sidewalk diplomacy. And this is an opportunity for people to reach out and connect on an individual basis, one person, one community at a time, so that you get to know each other, you exchange perspectives, you get to a point of mutual understanding, trust, and respect. So it's just average Americans getting to know counterparts overseas and beginning to appreciate how we are connected internationally.
Thousands of citizen diplomats and volunteers run Sister City programs. Sister City exchanges revolve around arts and culture, business and trade, community development, and youth and education. There are 500 members and more than 2,000 partnerships involving over 140 countries. Partnerships such as San Francisco, California, and its sister city, Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Atlanta, Georgia, and Brussels, Belgium, are sister cities, as well as Bridgetown, Barbados, and Wilmington, North Carolina. One city can establish several partnerships. Washington, D.C. alone has a sister city relationship with more than 10 cities, including Accra, Ghana, Beijing, China, and Athens, Greece. How does the partnership start?
So if someone is interested in starting a partnership, it may be someone in the United States, they will reach out to us and we will connect them to partners overseas who are interested in working with them. Similarly, someone overseas may say, I'd like a partner in the Silicon Valley, or I'd like to partner with a small city because my city is small. Who would be an appropriate partner and what are our mutual interests? And we would have facilities facilitate that. But it's always sanctioned at the level of a mayor or a locally elected official, and then it reaches out to citizens from there and really just blossoms and grows.
Cities leading the way is the theme of the 2018 Sister Cities International Annual Conference in Aurora, Colorado. De Souza says it is an opportunity to engage the next generation of youth leaders in citizen diplomacy and ensure that the vision of Sister Cities International of peace, mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation continues to grow and thrive.
In part two of my discussion with Roger Marc de Souza, President and CEO of Sister Cities International, he elaborates on how Sister Cities International has remained relevant over the years for partners in the United States as well as overseas. Esther?
Thank you, Leno. A Nigerian activist is trying to make a difference in her hometown where the terrorist group Boko Haram remains a threat. She's building schools in southern Borno in northern Nigeria, where many students have stopped their education for fear of being attacked by Boko Haram. Her program, called the Education Must Continue Initiative, reaches Christian minorities in the predominantly Muslim region. Chika Odua has more from Lassa in Borno State.
These days, teachers meet under trees in open fields so they can stay alert and run in case of an attack. The terrorist group Boko Haram is still an ever-present danger.
I was here in the town when they have come. So when they arrived, I was living with my mom and my dad at our environment. So we just hear a gunshot and we start running.
They eventually returned home here to Lassa, a historic town in the southern part of Borno State where signs of Boko Haram attacks are still visible. The teachers survey an aging school building. Maimuna Zubairu, who lost 3 of her uncles and her older brother, feels that the government has abandoned Lassa.
They're not doing much help. We here towards the villages, they don't take much action. Maybe because most of the people around here are Christian.
That's why Rebecca Gadzama and her husband co-founded a school and brought these teachers to help staff it. Their goal is to bring a quality education to an area where Boko Haram has virtually destroyed most government schools. It's part of their Education Must Continue initiative.
We are just private individuals, we're just good citizens, maybe good citizens or natives of this area. So we thought that we couldn't take them to start school in the government school because we were not sure when the government would start their school. So we just found this place.
Much of the government's financial support goes to the state capital, Maiduguri, more than 200 kilometers north of Lassa. This new housing complex in the Maiduguri area includes 200 new units. The mostly private-funded venture was commissioned for Boko Haram victims.
We hear about what is happening in northern Borno. Buildings are made, people are asked to go, and they are allocated to people. It doesn't look like there is government relevant presence in the situation, in the rebuilding of this area.
Most of the kids at Rebecca's second school in the city of Yola are Christians from the area. She comes back to check on the students, many of whom are traumatized by what they have seen.
What area of mass is this?
Ibrahim Daniel and Chinda John say they want to be soldiers to get revenge on Boko Haram.
I like them to be a soldier because of anything that them do. I like to do for them. If me see him, I go carry him outside. Me I go kill him. Me I go kill him.
The kids even play war games, with one side pretending to be soldiers and the other Boko Haram. Rebecca's hoping the school library will help heal the students' trauma. But having fun is also part of the healing process. Rebecca hopes to build more schools for kids to play, make friends, and learn skills to help them have a better future. Chika Odua for VOA News in Lassa, Nigeria.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Still ahead on Africa 54. Facebook cracks down on fake accounts. But first, a look at Wednesday's headlines. With only 3 months left before U.S. midterm elections, U.S. lawmakers, government officials, and private industries are working to protect U.S. voters from hackers and foreign propaganda that seeks to sway their political opinion. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have condemned Russia's meddling in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Here's VOA's Latza Hoke.
U.S. lawmakers on Tuesday hailed Facebook's decision to shut down 32 fake accounts suspected of trying to disrupt U.S. politics ahead of the upcoming election.
We know that it's not just about hacking into electoral systems and state registration systems. It's also about sowing divisions within the country among politicians and among average citizens.
The social media giant could not track the accounts directly to Russia, but said it had found similarities with false accounts managed from St. Petersburg to sway the 2016 U.S. election. Administration officials say Russia's interference took many forms.
It involved cyber espionage, leaks of stolen data, cyber intrusions into voter registration systems, online propaganda, and more. Let me be clear, our intelligence community has it right. It was the Russians.
At a cybersecurity conference in New York Tuesday, top U.S. officials promised measures to protect U.S. voting system.
The United States of America will not tolerate any foreign interference in our elections from any nation state. Not from Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, or anyone else.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence said the United States is not only strengthening its cyber defenses, but also its response to the attacks.
Gone are the days when America allows our adversaries to cyber attack us with impunity. Our goal remains. American security will be as dominant in the digital world as we are in the physical world.
Technology experts say identifying the hackers has not stopped their efforts.
It's only increased and gotten more sophisticated since the elections. You know, Facebook is calling cybersecurity an arms race. So it's not something that's ever going to go away, just like crime is not going to go away.
Pence said the government needs the support of the private sector and every American citizen to help keep the U.S. cyber domain safe. Zlarica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Efforts to influence U.S. voters ahead of the 2018 midterm elections in November appear to be well underway, though private companies and government officials are hesitant to say who exactly is behind the recently discovered campaigns. Facebook announced Tuesday it had shut down 32 Facebook and Instagram accounts because they were involved in coordinated, inauthentic behavior. Facebook said in blog post the investigation is in its very early stages and all the facts are not yet known, including who may be behind this. Social media giant also said whoever set up these accounts went to much greater lengths to obscure their true identities than the Russian-based internet research agency has in the past. Analyst Michael Posner believes Facebook needs a special unit to deal with the Russian antics.
You know, Facebook and Google have said to us that they don't need a dedicated Russian team. that they can handle the Russian threat as part of a bigger problem of disinformation. And we disagree. What the Russians are doing is uniquely threatening to our democracy. Facebook, Google, Twitter need to have dedicated Russian teams addressing that problem.
Posner added that the Trump administration and Congress also have a role in defending the country from disruptive cyber influences. Speaking at a national cybersecurity summit, Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen did not comment on the Facebook announcement directly, but she said officials were dramatically ramping up efforts to protect U.S. election systems with the help of a new election task. Now to what's trending. It's official. Whiskey is the most popular spirit drink in South Africa. The country consumes nearly 39 million liters of it a year. While beer is still the more common alcoholic beverage in South Africa, trend analysts say that high whiskey consumption and sales are a result of increased middle-class spending. Pricey bottles of Johnny Walker have even become a familiar sight in shebeens, the informal taverns common in South Africa's townships. Meanwhile, in the Netherlands, university students have unveiled a biocomposite electric car named Noah. They say it needs just 60 kilograms of batteries and takes more than 5 times less energy to produce than carbon fiber or aluminum alternatives. Noah's chassis and interior are made from a blend of flax fiber and sugar. The team believes there are no other cars on the road with such a low environmental impact over its entire life cycle, including its own previous biocomposite model, Lena, built in 2017. And in other tech news, researchers backed by Tesla founder Elon Musk and Silicon Valley financier Sam Altman have found a novel way to use a software to teach a human-like robotic hands new tasks, a discovery that could eventually make it more economical to train robots to do things that are easy for humans. Researchers at OpenAI, a non-profit artificial intelligence research group founded in 2015, say they have taught a robotic hand to rotate a lettered multicolored block until a desired side of the block faces upward. All the learning happened in a software simulation and was then transferred to the physical world with relative ease. And that's what's trending today. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching and good night from Washington.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Today's episode won't cost you anything.
Freebie.
Let's see what this one is about.
Anna, I love my job.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I get so many freebies from the bands I write about. CDs, t-shirts, water bottles, even tickets to see them perform.
Wow. The only freebie I ever got from my job